Greetings, parents. Now it is time to get to the meat of the actual ELA test. The sample questions have been broken down into units, so that's how we're going to look at them, is by each unit. And just a reminder, I'm encouraging you to break this up into manageable parts that allow you and your child to get the most out of the practice without it becoming draining and more exhausting than it really has to be. Even though I'm just breaking it up into 3 sections, 3 days, you really can do this and probably should do this in smaller chunks and just take more time to go through it. But more importantly, do what works for you. Now, Unit 1, it's a reading literary text, and that starts on page 23 and goes through page 30. Basically, these test questions require students to identify main ideas and details, cite evidence, which is where they prove they found something. They have to make inferences, figure out themes, and understand vocabulary. So there are some key terms found here that are listed that students really should know. Key terms throughout this entire study guide are a great thing for kids to study 10 minutes a day, just to know that they are very familiar with the terms they'll see across these tests. So for this section, there are 5 sample items the students should work through, and then you can discuss them with them as they review their answers. And the answers for this section are found on page 57. So these are all those sample items. All right, now Unit 2, reading informational text. That starts on page 31 and goes through page 36. Now these test questions are usually based on nonfiction text. So students need to be able to determine central ideas, write a summary based on facts, analyze or break down ideas, and again, cite evidence, which is where they prove their answers based on evidence that they found directly in the text. There are more key terms here on page 32 that students, again, should know with confidence. And then the sample items 6 through 9 are on pages 33 through 36. And the answers for this part are found on pages 58, 65, and 66. Now take note, looking at number 9 right here, this is constructed response. So for those constructed response items for all ELA and math questions, you'll see a rubric in the back that explains to you and shows you what an exemplar or a great answer will look like, just to kind of give you an idea of how it will be scored. Now, Unit 3 is writing argumentative texts, and this starts on page 37 and goes through page 45. So you can see 37 gives some great tips and hints to help students work through this section. These writing tasks, they will take some time, and students need to practice these. One big reason this is difficult is that students have to take a stand or show an agreement or disagreement with a point of view, and then they have to support or give reasons for their stance. This requires students to use details and stick to a topic. Now, these are really difficult concepts if they're not practiced. So a great way to support this at home is just to ask your child their opinion on something. For instance, why are Frosted Flakes better than Apple Jacks? They have to be able to give solid reasoning to support their stance. One reason could be that one has less sugar than the other, or that one doesn't get as soggy in milk as fast. Anything can be used to practice the skill, but again, practice is the key. So after you take some time and work through these writing samples for questions 10 and 11, the answers are on page 58 and 59, and then the rubrics for 12 and 13, they're on 67, 68, 76, and 77. Okay, now Unit 4. This is where we go into writing informational or explanatory text. That starts on page 46 right here. And again, 46 gives you just the valuable hints and tips about doing well in this section again. And then page 47 gives the key terms. Again, I suggest the kids study those. And then the sample items start here on page 49. You see the text that the children have to read. And then the questions for them to start to respond to. So 14 and 15 are selected response items. 16 is a constructed response, and it's asking for that brief summary about the author's main points based on the text. Same for number 17. And those answers begin on page 49, and then page 59, 69, and 70 are where you can find the answers for those questions. And then finally, we have Unit 5. This covers language. So language is talking about grammar, punctuation, spelling, and usage of words. The test tips and hints are again here on page 53, and 54 shows also the key terms. Sample items 18 through 21 start on page 55, with the answers being on page 60 and 61. So as you can see here, these are what the sample item keys look like. They give you the answers and they explain why the answers are correct. And that's a big part of what you would want to discuss with your student, just to make sure they understand why something is correct or not correct. That will help them to be able to apply that knowledge later on. Again, please remember this is really fluid as far as guidance and how to break this document up. Make sure you're using it the way that works best for you. Break it up into smaller parts, review parts that need to be reviewed, and more importantly, use it as a conversation piece between you and your child to hopefully increase comfort levels and limit anxiety. Until next time.